Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Coleman, founder of Divinely Purpose. I am a certified life coach and a certified mentor, and I specialize in the area of narcissistic abuse recovery, as well as empowerment and wellness. So, today I wanted to talk to you all about being alone on your journey of healing. This is not something that many people want to talk about. This is not something that is very comfortable. But if you know anything about the wilderness, even when we look in the Bible, we study and learn about the wilderness, it was not a comfortable place to be in, but there was a lot of things that took place in the wilderness. And so I can't wait to dive into this quick teaching. If you see me looking over this way, I'm just looking at my notes. So, alone on your healing journey, this is the part that is not comfortable. Like I said, this is a part that people don't really talk about. You break free from toxic people, and then what? You're by yourself, right? That's not comfortable. And a lot of people are not comfortable with being alone. And so we're going to talk about that in a second. But being alone is a part of your healing process. Okay. It's a part of the process. So being alone isn't always a bad thing. And what you'll learn today is that it may be necessary. So, what happens when we become isolated after the abuse because we've broken free from these toxic people? One thing you'll notice is that you'll break free from narcissists and toxic people and you realize there's no one else around because you've been surrounded by narcissists and toxic people pretty much your whole life. So when you break free, you're by yourself. And in this place, this is where the real work happens. Okay? Because we have to address why we weren't comfortable before being alone. Because the fact that we were not comfortable being alone because we had codependency issues, maybe we had a fear of abandonment, because our parents abandoned us in certain ways, maybe they neglected us. Um, you had an anxious attachment style, so you were addicted to being with someone else. So these are the patterns and the behaviors that we have to address in this wilderness area so that we don't go back with that same mindset. So that we don't continue that system. The point in you healing is to create a new system. So we're tearing down those old mindsets and those old beliefs, and we're really recreating a new reality based on our healed selves and our new mindset. So this area is hard. If you've always been used to being with someone, it's going to be a challenge to establish a new behavior, to establish a new habit, a new pattern. You know, it takes what they say 30 days to break a bad habit. How long does it take to tear down an old system that's been operating your life for years? It can take a while. And so a lot of this depends on you and what you're willing to put into your healing process. If you don't do the work, you're going to remain in the same place. If you don't make investments in your healing process, you're going to see no return. Simple as that. And I really push my clients to make investments. I really hone in on the investment thing because there's going to be times when you don't want to invest in self care. You don't feel like it. You don't feel like doing anything. Maybe you're having a bad day, you're dealing with the depression or something else, because this is just a hard process to go through. This is not easy, but you have to make those investments because you'll see in the end there is a reward, there's a payout, and you're going to be so thankful that you did the work, that you took the time to heal, and that you made these investments into yourself. So sometimes this requires for you to be alone, to really address those old mindsets that you had. You have to detox from what made you sick. You were in an environment and surrounded with people who were literally killing you, slowly killing you. And so it's almost like they were a poison. So you have to detox almost like in the physical, like when you're around molds and toxins and all that, you have to go through a detoxification process. Same thing here in your healing journey. You have to detox. So you might be alone because you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. If these people made you sick, you can't heal by being around them. You have to remove yourself from them and then heal. One thing I did on my healing journey was I cut everybody off, except for a couple people that were my support system. I cut everybody off because I had to be by myself. I was surrounded by a lot of narcissists, connected to a lot of narcissists, a lot of toxic people who just did not value me. And so it was not healthy for me to be around them because they would continue reinforcing their belief of me not being valuable. And I didn't want to continue that system. For me, I wanted to change that. And so that required for me to get away from them, to get away from those negative people because I wanted to ascend. I realized I was on the path of ascension. So, in order to ascend, you have to leave old things behind. You have to leave negative people behind because they have negative thinking, and you have to align yourselves with like-minded people. People who are operating at a high frequency, a high vibration. Toxic people are operating at a very low vibration. If you take a look at the vibration scale, you'll see that toxic people and narcissists, they operate at a very low vibration. So they can't hang with you. And naturally, they're going to fall off as you ascend because they can't breathe at that same altitude. I always say, everyone can't fly with you. So you also might be alone because God wants you to trust Him. In the past, you have put your trust in man and other people, and He wants you to rebuild your faith. I'll say it again. God wants you to rebuild your faith. And He wants you to cleave to Him so that you know that the only person you need is Him. A lot of us fell into idolatry, dealing with narcissists because they require for us to make them their gods, to make them our gods. Narcissists require worship and praise, and they want for us to make them our gods. And so we all fell into idolatry, and God is a very jealous God. And so sometimes He wants you to see that no one else is your source, but God is your source. So that means you don't need the narcissist. A lot of them make us dependent on them for survival. He might have you alone so that you can understand and experience His grace, His provisions, His mercy, and you'll understand that you don't need a narcissist because the narcissist isn't your source. God is your source. So you need to kick them off that pedestal you had them on and put God back in the place that he should be in, which is number one in your life. The narcissist should not be number one. God should be number one. So you'll learn that God is all you need. And sometimes he might allow these situations to happen so that we can learn that he is all we need. Look in the book of Job. Job lost everything. God allowed the enemy to attack Job. But there were things that Job learned in the process. So, just like that, God will teach you that He's the only one you need. In this period of the wilderness is when you learn how to trust yourself again. You can't learn how to trust yourself again if you're still dealing with those old people, same old mindset. No, this new version of you that you're walking into is going to require for you to trust yourself. Why? Because you have to use discernment. You have to be able to trust your discernment, trust what you're feeling, trust what you're discerning. So you have to build your trust on this in this space and in this season, in this area. God's going to show you how to rebuild that trust with self. And then after you rebuild your trust with self, then you'll be able to go on and create new relationships and build trust with other people. It first starts with us. So, why might we have to go to the wilderness? Some more reasons why we need to be restored. So, through this whole process, we're being refined. We're being refined and we're being restored. As survivors, we need restoration. That's one thing I prayed about on my healing journey was for restoration, because so much was taken from me. I've always prayed that God will restore and replenish and even give me more. So we might need to be restored. Elijah, the prophet, was in the wilderness and he was about to die. I mean, literally, he was like on the brink of death. And so an angel went after him and appeared to him and told him, you need food and water to drink. You need something to drink and you need food because you're depleted." So he fed Elijah, Elijah ate, Elijah drank, and he was restored for the rest of his journey. So we might need to be restored. Also, we might need an encounter with God. Moses had an encounter with God at the burning bush at Mount Sinai. He needed that encounter. There's amazing things that happen when we have an encounter with God. It's just unexplainable. If you haven't had an encounter with God, I pray that He meets you where you're at and that you have a phenomenal encounter with God. So you might need an encounter with Him. This is where you receive divine insight, divine revelation. Healing takes place in this encounter, deliverance takes place in this encounter with God. Also, you might need to pray. When Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days, he was in the wilderness for 40 days. He sought out God and prayed. So we need to restore our prayer life. because I don't see how you're going to get completely free out of this if you don't know how to pray. You need to restore your prayer life. So, these might be some reasons why you're alone in your healing journey, but it's not always a bad thing. Also, one thing you can do is start getting out there. As God is dealing with you, remolding you, putting you back together, start doing something for yourself. Start going out. Start looking into new things, develop new hobbies, and then be consistent with that thing. So, some people are afraid to go anywhere because they're dealing with PTSD. The narcissist has programmed them that they're not allowed to leave the house. They have to be at home to be on standby for whenever the narcissist calls or checks in, or this just these outrageous rules that the narcissist may have. So this person is literally programmed to be at home. So you have to slowly come out of that. And as you go out, start with the low time, little bit of time, 30 minutes. Go out for 30 minutes, do something for yourself. Go buy something that you love. Go out in nature for 30 minutes. Be present. Practice gratitude. What do you like to do? Go pick out a new book, go fishing, go hiking. Do something for you that's going to bring you pleasure. And then stay committed to that thing. Because, like I said, there's going to be some times where you're going to feel still maybe not worthy on this journey until you be completely restored. You might have spots and times where you're like, oh, I don't feel well. I don't think that I can do this today, or do it anyway. Do it scared, do it fearful, just do it because you're going to close the mouth of fear when you do that. You're going to shut fear up when you do that. When you do it anyway, when you go forth anyway, when you go out anyway, and you take care of yourself anyway, you're going to shut fear's mouth. So, all of this to say that yes, as survivors, we can't be alone on our healing journey. That's not a bad thing. And know that God is always with you. So you might be alone, but you shouldn't necessarily be lonely. And as you are restored, God will begin to send people in your life to align with you on your walk into purpose. So, yes, there's a period of time where you need to be alone, but then there's a period of time where you need to be around other people. So don't just be alone, still be around other people, and you'll be comfortable with this as you progress on your healing journey. You'll start to trust again, you'll start to love again, and you'll guard your heart though. This time you'll have boundaries in place, you'll have a whole new system in place, right? So you might be alone now, but then God is going to send you good company because you do need other people. You don't need them for validation or acknowledgement, but you might need other people for support. I believe in the power of teams. I can do much more in teams than I can do by myself. And so it's all about divine connections and being aligned with the right people and having good company. So that's to come later. I hope this helped you in some type of way. Stay tuned for more. Bye bye.